So in this video, we will see if we have a lambda, then how do we use it? Where do we pass it? Even if we write a lambda, how do we declare it? It's not a variable or it's not a class. So how do we actually initialize and evaluate a lambda expression? So let's say here we have a lambda expression that basically says that it will accept two arguments and it will simply print the summation of those two passed values. Now, given this lambda expression, how do we use it in a code? So in order to do that, we need to understand the concept of functional interface first. What are functional interfaces? A functional interface is any interface that has a single abstract method. So we know that interfaces in general are 100% abstract. That means they generally don't have methods with body, but with Java 8, default and static methods were introduced. So an interface can have abstract methods and non-abstract, which is basically default and static methods. Now an interface can have more than one abstract method. So the functional interface is an interface that must and that will only have a single abstract method. It can have multiple static and default methods, but the abstract method will only be just one. So let's say here in this example, we have created an interface printer, and there is a single method sum, and the return type is void. The name of the method is sum, and the signature of the method is that it will accept two integer parameters, int a and b, and because this is an abstract method, so it doesn't have any implementation. So this is a functional interface. Now in a code, wherever we are using a functional interface, we can use the lambda. There we can pass the lambda expression in order to execute some code at a later time. So for example, let's say we have a method. This is a functional interface, first of all. Now let's say we have another method in a class. So there is a class demo, and in this class there is a method public void and let's say work. Now this method accepts a printer or any implementation of the printer interface p, and what it does, it basically calls p.sum and let's say two integer values. Okay, so here in this method we see that it is accepting a type or an implementation of type printer, and printer is a functional interface. So that means here in the work method we can pass a lambda expression. So in order to use the work method, let's say we created an object of the class demo equals to new demo. Then we will do something like d.work to call the work method, and now we need to pass something that is a printer to the work method so that the work method can call the sum method on that implementation. All right, so one solution would be to create a new class that will implement the printer, and it will give the definition of the sum method. That is solution number one. Second solution is that because we know that printer is a functional interface and it has a single method, so whatever definition or the code that we provide to this method will be applied to the only method that is available in the interface. So what we can alternatively do is d.work, and we can pass the implementation directly in the form of lambda. SOP a plus b. That's it. Now what happens when the runtime will call the work method? From here it will go to this method definition, and it will check that okay, it accepts an interface printer, and it has a single method. It's a functional interface. It has a single method. So whatever lambda that we are passing to this method will be replaced as the implementation of this sum method. And here where we are calling the sum method, it will execute this implementation, the code that we have provided. So 4,10 at this point of time. So here, as soon as we pass, for example, as soon as we write something here in d.work, it will not be executed. It will be only executed when runtime reaches at this point, where we are actually calling the sum method. At that point of time, JVM will know that okay, it needs to call sum method, but it has a lambda expression, so it will replace this sum with this lambda expression. And alternatively, what it will do, it will simply do something like this: 410 pass. So here we see that this is basically something like this. It will replace a with 4, b with 10, and the lambda body of the lambda will execute the summation and will print the number on the console. So that is one way to use lambda. It will always be a functional interface. The target will always be a functional interface. So if we have a functional interface, we can pass a lambda expression as a replacement, and it will be executed when the code will call the method of the functional interface. We will see a code demo on the same topic, but that's it for now.